7 charter buses pulled up to my property at 2 in the morning, dumping 300 drunk college kids straight into my vegetable garden. I watched my irrigation pipes snap under their feet, beer spilling across the soil, and then I heard her voice, the HOA president, herself pointing at my late wife's memorial roses and telling them to really trash that area. My wife's roses. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just harassment, this was war, and I wasn't going to be the one who lost. My name's Michael Turner, but most folks just call me Mike. I'm 35, a quiet guy working IT, not exactly looking for trouble. After my divorce, I thought I'd found peace here in Maple Creek, Texas, on a corner lot where I could grow some tomatoes, maybe swing in the yard on a wooden bench. I'd survived deployments overseas. I figured a suburban neighborhood couldn't be worse than that. Famous last words. Enter the villain of my story, Karen Whitmore. Blonde bob. White BMW tennis outfit that screams country club royalty. And the title that gave her all the power she craved, President of the Homeowners Association. She didn't bother introducing herself the first time she rolled up to my driveway. Just pointed at my raised garden beds and said, "Are you establishing some kind of agricultural operation here?" Agricultural operation. Lady, I was planting cherry tomatoes, not running a farm. I told her it was therapy doctor's orders. She raised those penciled-on eyebrows like I'd just confessed to a felony. 3 days later, I got my first violation notice, $75 for non-decorative plant species visible from the street. Non-decorative plants. In other words, tomatoes. At first, I tried to play nice. Sent her an email with legal proof my lot was grandfathered in free from most of their silly restrictions. Thought that would end it. Wrong. That's when the flood started. Letters in certified mail. 14 violations in one weekend. Fence too high. Garden too big. Water usage excessive. Pest attraction potential. Total fines over $1,000. She was trying to bury me in paper and all for growing vegetables. It got worse. She called me out at a board meeting in front of a room full of neighbors, painting me as the guy who was dragging the whole community down. If we let him break the rules, this place will look like a slum, she said. Everyone stared at me. I wanted to sink into the chair. I walked home that night wondering if maybe I really didn't belong here. Maybe I should just sell the house and get the hell out before she made good on her threats. That was my low point, staring at Sarah's roses, the ones we planted together before she passed, thinking I'd failed her by letting this HOA dictator humiliate me. Then something shifted. My neighbor Lisa slipped me a folder. Inside were copies of financial records and committee notes. Turns out Karen had been using HOA funds for her own landscaping. Her husband's side hustle ran illegally out of their house, and that massive deck she bragged about built without permits. Suddenly the picture was clear. This wasn't about community rules. She was protecting her own property value, hiding her own violations, and using me as the scapegoat. That night I stopped feeling like a victim and started planning my counterattack. I dug through county records, pulled every permit, every amendment, every covenant. If she wanted war, I'd fight it with the same precision I used overseas logistics reconnaissance patience. And the more I uncovered, the more I realized just how deep her hypocrisy went. She was running an illegal business, encroaching on community land, even lying to the board. By the time I walked into the next HOA meeting, I had a folder thick enough to choke an elephant. She opened the session accusing me of operating a commercial farm. I slid the survey across the table. 6 raised beds, 240 square feet. The covenants allow 500 without approval. Would you like me to read the section out loud? Her voice cracked. Board members shifted in their chairs. For a second I thought maybe that would be enough. But Karen wasn't done. She escalated. If she couldn't beat me with fines, she'd use the HOA bylaws themselves. That's when I learned about the easement clause. Buried in the amendments, it gave the HOA the right to temporarily use designated easements for community events. Karen saw her loophole. She filed a notice that I would be hosting a neighborhood appreciation gathering without asking me, of course. What she really planned was a full-scale invasion. 7 buses of partiers hired through a shady promoter scheduled to swarm straight through the easement and into my yard. And the target she singled out for them, Sarah's memorial roses. I wanted to storm over there and put an end to it, but my buddy Jake, a Marine turned attorney, told me to hold the line. "Let her do it," he said. "You document everything, photos, video, witnesses, and it stops being an HOA dispute. It becomes criminal. She'll hand you her head on a platter." It was hard imagining my garden destroyed, but he was right. If I stopped her, she'd spin it as paranoia. If I let her walk into the trap, the law would do what the HOA never would. So we prepared. Cameras hidden around the yard, neighbors ready to witness, survey maps marking the easement lines. Even Mrs. Patterson, my 80-year-old neighbor, volunteered to testify. By Saturday evening, everything was in place. The buses arrived with a roar of diesel engines blasting music loud enough to rattle windows. College kids spilled out carrying red Solo cups, laughing, stumbling, shouting. And there she was, Karen dressed like some aging sorority queen, waving her arms and directing them. "Enjoy the outdoor space," she called, pointing right at my wife's roses. I clenched my fists, but stayed inside camera, rolling, heartbreaking, as I watched strangers stomp through my garden, tearing pipes from the ground, turning my memorial bench into a beer pong table. By 9:45, the sheriff's deputies showed up. Noise complaints had flooded in from every corner of the neighborhood. I stepped onto my porch with my evidence folder just as they confronted her. "Ma'am, do you have permits for this event?" one deputy asked. She smirked. "It's a private HOA gathering, no permits required." Wrong answer. I handed over the surveys, the recordings, the video of her telling drunk kids to destroy my memorial. The deputy's expression changed immediately. "Ma'am, this is criminal trespass and property damage." Karen's face drained of color. Her husband tried to smooth things over, muttering about shutting it down. But it was too late. Every second had been recorded. Every witness saw her directing the chaos. By the time the buses pulled out, deputies had issued citations and opened a criminal investigation. The Queen of Maple Creek had just become a suspect on the evening news. The next day, the county assessor walked through my yard clipboard shaking as he totaled over $8,000 in damages. News crews showed up, neighbors rallied, and the HOA board called an emergency meeting. The community center overflowed with residents holding signs, "Support tank veterans deserve better." Karen's got to go. Cameras rolled as I played the audio of her voice clear as day. "Use that pretty garden area, really trash it good. That military needs to learn his place." The room went silent. Board members looked horrified. Even her husband buried his head in his hands. When the vote came, it was unanimous. She was stripped of her title, referred for prosecution, and effectively exiled from the very neighborhood she'd tried to rule. Her white BMW peeled out of the parking lot like a hearse carrying her reputation. That's where my story ends, with her downfall, not my victory lap. I didn't feel joy, not even relief, just a steady calm, knowing justice had finally caught up. And if there's one thing I've learned from this mess, it's simple bullies only win when you stay silent. Document everything, stand your ground, and let the truth do the heavy lifting.